Part 1. The Knock and the Hairpin. My name is Martha Jo Reynolds, Miss MJ to most. 76, Arkansas sawdust in my lungs and decades behind a locksmith counter. I don't preach. I itemize. Steps, tools, timings. The Sunday knock was clean and soft, the kind people use when they already own the room. I opened the door to my daughter, Paige, after 14 years gone. Sunglasses like mirrors, carry-on that whispered, card limit. "Mom," she said, as if we'd paused a conversation yesterday. I stepped aside. She cooked the first night, vacuumed the next, lined up my pills like chess, walked my hallway measuring distances with her eyes. "What time do you take your loop? Which neighbor has the spare? Where's the deed, Mama? I'll file it better." Everything clipped into a pocket notebook, tiny script, double underlines. On Thursday, she brought a suit. Curtis Hale, estate specialist. Hair razor sharp, watch that could buy a used Buick. He slid papers across my laminate, revocable trust, medical directives, power of attorney wide as a prairie. I fluttered, hand to forehead. "Another day," he said smoothly, packing his leather case. The evening tea she poured afterward tasted wrong. Metallic tail, chalk dust at the bottom. I tilted the cup when she turned to adjust the blinds. The ficus got the dose. By morning it sagged like a flag after a storm. Message received. I staged fog. I forgot a name, misplaced my glasses, asked the doorman the date twice. Paige took over the phone, the door, the shopping. She told neighbors I was slipping a little. By Friday, she'd rehearsed a soft voice about my condo, the policy Walter left, beneficiaries in case, life. I asked if she still liked lemon bars and set to beating eggs. I didn't taste a crumb. Night fell. A tray arrived, steaming chamomile with a new bitterness. I let it ride my tongue, tuck the mouthful into a napkin when she fluffed a pillow, and closed my eyes to perfect even breathing. At 2:13 a.m., the latch whispered, apples and clean laundry perfume. Paige's murmur, "She's out. Bring the box up." A man on the phone, "Back garage in 3. Sheet over me. 2 sets of careful hands. They kept me level. Someone had practiced. Carport chill, trunk hinge, muffled thud. Asphalt hum, then washboard dirt. After 47 minutes, habit, loose gravel. Stop, drag, damp earth, rough pine against shoulder blades. Hammer taps. Too few, too fast. Bad carpentry. "Shallow," Paige ordered. "Nobody hunts for a wandering old woman in a scrub lot." The man grunted. "Insurance clears 30 days after presumed. Deed right after." Nails bit down over my face. One seam didn't sit. Lazy. I ran fingertips along grain. Second-rate pine. We'd sold miles of it. I searched edges for slop. Found it. A proud nail head on the side panel. I needed a lever. I had one. Steel hairpin anchoring my bun. I slid the pin under the head and rocked. Tiny squeaks. I counted shovels outside. Scrape, heave, breathe. A metronome. Thermos lid clicked. Coffee break. Good. First nail lifted. I plucked it, used it as a pry bar, walked the seam. 4 came quick. 2 fought back. I breathed shallow, shoulder braced, patience level. A board loosened an inch, then 2. I pressed with my forearm, fed myself through sideways. A slow, stupid birth. Rib scrape, shirt tear, air that smelled like weeds and victory. I belly crawled to a creosote clump. They returned to an empty box. Paige's scream cut the dawn. The man swore about tracks and court calendars. After a fast argument, "She'll never make it far," the car left, throwing grit. I headed east by sky. Sunrise is a compass you can't fake. The scrub cut my calves. The tarp I'd snatched off a collapsed shed rode my shoulders like a cape. A dry well coughed up a palmful of greenish water. I took what wouldn't kill me. The highway finally shimmered. A produce hawk in a dented truck braked for a stringy old woman in a torn nightshirt and one boot. "Mesa," he said. "Fine," I said, climbing in back. From there, an elderly couple with church voices ferried me toward Tucson, swapping me a hat and a soft t-shirt for a story about a stovetop fire. I had them let me out 3 blocks shy of my building. I knew the camera angles and the doorman's 10 p.m. bathroom break. The service door latch had been busted since spring. I'd reported it twice. It still welcomed me like an old mistake. Our 70s tower keeps a secret. Janitor's closet tucked behind the boiler stack, forgotten on schematics. Walter and I stashed paint there years back. I curled the lock with a scrap of wire and slid inside. Burlap sacks made a bed. Darkness made a plan. Upstairs, Mrs. Perry's open kitchen window bellowed the local news at midnight. Missing senior with early dementia. My photo. Paige's damp cheeks. Phone number for tips. Perfect cover. Let them search dunes and ditches. I needed halls and vents. I mapped the building like a target. Staff rounds, camera blind spots, when the super smokes. At 2:40 a.m., I popped a panel in the service hallway and wormed into a duct Walter once showed me. Maintenance access into my bathroom vanity. I eased the cabinet door open and slipped into my own place like a thief. Frames face down. Donation boxes labeled with my life. Keep cell trash. In the desk, a folder. Martha J. Reynolds. Inside, clean copies of my real will, plus fakes. Medical incapacity with a doctor I never met. A power of attorney in my shaky hand. Sale authorization already notarized in someone's imagination. I photographed everything with an ancient android I'd rescued from the e-waste bin. No SIM, camera fine. I needed ears. I raided the trash room. Busted radio, microwave buzzer, speaker wire. 20 minutes on a drop cloth, and I'd built 3 ugly microphones, patched to that android as a recorder. I taped one under the dining table, one behind the sofa, one under the headboard. Masking tape, black marker, X marks for my return. I crawled back through the cabinet and sealed the panel. Then I slept on burlap like it was cotton. Food and meds were problems. The fix rolled in on a dolly. Thursday, the water delivery kid stopped at the service hall, checked his clipboard, and muttered, "Weird. 5C's still burning 2 jugs with 1 person." I cracked my closet door. "Tyler," I whispered. He nearly launched a 5-gallon. He found my eyes in the dark. "I'm the owner of 5C, I said. "I'm supposed to be dead." He stared. Then, "What do you need?" "Bread, BP pills, a phone I can load and ditch." Next week he left a bag behind the empties. Inside, a loaf, fruit, generics, a prepaid. Note: my granddad got taken by a cousin. I'm in. With calories and pressure under control, I worked the tape. Curtis bragged about quick probate. Paige joked about dosing the dragon. They mentioned a Glendale man who wandered, a Peoria widow who vanished, same lawyer on both. I logged dates, times, phrases. No speeches, just inventory. You want sermons? Ask a preacher? You want a sequence? Here it is. Test the tea, track the nails, map the vents, borrow a dolly boy, build mics from junk, collect without comment. When they start talking money, you'll know what to do. Part 2. Vent work and paper trails. I kept hours like a watchman. Midnight to 4, I moved. 4 to 8, I slept on burlap. Daylight, I listened. The bugs did their job. Paige in the suit treated my dining room like a conference table. First hall, Curtis bragging to a whisper. Same adjuster as Glendale. Judge who loves tidy files. 30 days to presumed? Paige clinked a glass. I've got Mom's hand down now. Her R loop's low. I paused the playback, rewound, marked the minute. Forging technique, self-incriminating. Good. I needed paper, not just sound. The dumpster behind our mailroom coughed up gold. 2 torn envelopes, one from an insurer, one from a title office. Both addressed to me, both slit, then tossed. I taped them back together on the boiler room floor and shot photos. Claim number, escrow file, dates. I logged each. Column A, source, B, who touched it, C, what it proves. Next move was mail without leaving footprints. Our lobby has a postage machine that jams twice a week at 2 p.m. The doorman kills the camera near it while he plays mechanic. During Tuesday's jam, I slid my own stamped anonymous letter into the outgoing tray, printed from Tyler's prepaid at a laundromat. To Arizona AG, Elder Abuse Unit. 3 names, Curtis Hale, Paige Reynolds, and a missing widow in Peoria. Pattern, call if you like results. I signed it. Witness 5Cs. It wasn't poetry. It was bait. Back in the vent, I swapped memory cards and moved a mic. People reveal more in kitchens than living rooms. I taped the capsule under the spice rack. That paid off fast. I slipped the investigator $1,000, Curtis said, fork hitting porcelain. He'll mark no credible leads by Friday. Paige. Good. Condo tour on Monday. Buyer's cash. Time-stamped. Backed up twice. 1 copy hidden in a cereal box in 3F's laundry room. 1 taped inside the janitor closet behind a loose plate. Tyler upped his game. He started logging who came and went at my door, then texted me screenshots. 2 realtors. 1 notary in a hurry. A mobile nurse I'd never met. I tracked their plates from the alley with the prepaid camera's zoom and ran them through a public kiosk at the library after midnight. Names matched conversations. Nothing fancy, just confirmation checkpoints. Forgery check. I pulled my actual signatures from an old DMV renewal in the storage bin and laid them beside the new power of attorney under the flashlight. Paige thought my crossbar on the T sagged. She missed that I dot my J like a nail head. Dead center, not high right. I photographed the mismatch and wrote the note any rookie court clerk would love. Apparent simulation, hesitation marks, tremor not consistent with baseline fine motor. You don't need to be a document examiner if you've watched people sign checks for 40 years. By week 3, the pattern barked its own orders. I mapped the timeline onto a single sheet. Day 0, disappearance. Day 9, doctor's letter. Day 12, realtor walkthrough. Day 20, investigator closes file. Day 30, presumed death petition. Under every line, I penciled a countermeasure. Stay silent. 9, find the doctor. 12, record the pitch. 20, catch the bribe. 30, trigger a sting. The doctor turned out to be a stamp. Telemedicine mill in Tempe signing cognitive decline for anyone who typed safety risk. Paige had printed the PDF on my own machine. I saved the print spooler's job history from the PC cache at 3 a.m. and snapped the screen. User, Paige, job, cognitive status, MJR, PDF. People forget machines tattletale. Catching the bribe required placement. Curtis met the investigator in the back booth at Nuevo Laredo Grill on Thursdays. Tyler's girlfriend waited tables there and owed him a favor. I slid her a 20 and a script. Seat them at the mirror. Keep chips coming. Don't hover. I planted my cheapest mic under that vinyl bench during the afternoon lull, chewing gum as adhesive. That night the audio came back clean. Fork clinks, a man clearing his throat, envelopes sliding. "For your gas," Curtis said. "For my time," the other replied. Names were mumbled, but plates and timestamps do the rest. I logged it, backed it up, slept 2 hours like a rock. I had to keep Paige sure I was missing. She talked to cameras. I watched through the vent slats. "She wandered," she told a reporter, wringing my dish towel. She wouldn't know the elevator button without me. 10 minutes later, she danced with a champagne bottle in my kitchen and told Curtis, "I'm listing the view at 850. I wrote, 850. On my ledger. It's not a price. It's a confidence window. Confident people confess. I needed outside muscle that wasn't local. The sheriff plays golf with our HOA president. I wanted someone who played a different course. The AG's office pinged me back 4 days after my letter. Text from an unlisted number. "This is date, Dana Rios. If you're real, bring me a clean sample. No edits, no theatrics." I answered with a drop. A flash drive in a Ziploc inside the 4th shrub pot by the courthouse steps. Tyler made the delivery, baseball cap low. Rios listened. Her reply came with no salutation. "We work when money moves. We need them speaking in present tense. Plans, not history. Keep your head low." A second text. "When does the payout hit?" My bugs had that answer. "End of month," Paige told the adjuster on speakerphone while painting her nails. I sent Rios a 3-word text. Wednesday, 9 a.m. Prep for Wednesday took a tool bag. 2 spare recorders, a battery bank, a quart of bleach to wipe prints, 20 singles for bribes that needed to look casual. I moved cash to 3 hides, the AC return, the mop bucket false bottom, and the Bible sleeve. If they cracked the closet, they'd still miss 2. Monday. Realtor walked the rooms, heels clicking. "We'll stage with neutrals, lighten the drapes." Paige laughed. "We're signing Friday after the certificate lands." Recorder under the table caught a cleaner line. "Buyer wires earnest money tomorrow. No inspection contingency." Good. Overconfidence is a ladder. Tuesday midnight, I shifted the underbed mic to the inside of the lamp base. Lamps live on side tables during celebrations. People toast above them. I also retaped the headboard bug. Heat loosens glue. Then left a decoy. A cheap black blob where an amateur might look. If Paige found it, she'd rip the wrong thing and brag about her cleverness. She didn't look. She was busy confirming a wire. Tyler's last delivery before the strike came with a folded index card. "You good?" I wrote back, "I'm square. Watch the lobby." He texted a photo an hour later, 2 men in polos carrying a long black case through the main doors. Not cops, AV crew from AG, posing as soundproofing installers for the HOA project. Rios had range. I checked the kit. Fresh batteries, fresh storage, clock synced to NIST time from my little radio. "You want admissible evidence? Sync your clocks." I pressed my shirt, braided my hair, slid the hairpin back where it belongs. No theatrics. A locksmith shows up neat even when she's been living in a boiler room. Wednesday, 8:41 a.m. I lay on burlap, eyes on my watch, counting a heartbeat per second the way I learned cutting keys to time. Upstairs, through the vent, a squeal, Paige opening a browser, A squeak, the cheap office chair I never replaced. Then the sound I needed. A gasp with teeth. Money screen lit. She called Curtis. It hit. He said, "Come tonight. Champagne." She, "7." He, "Bring the papers." She, "Already in the folder. Present tense. Plans. Good girl. Say it all." I texted Rios. 7 highs. Her bubble popped up. You walk in at 8:05. We're in the building at 7:30, non-uniform. Keep them talking 40 seconds before I knock. Don't touch them. Don't threaten. Make them repeat themselves. She added, "Do you want to be there?" I answered, "It's my door." In the lull, I tightened the last screws. I printed a single sheet and slid it under my own door. Inventory hold, do not remove, by order of the court. Not real paper, just theater to slow any last-minute hauling. I also left the thermostat 2 degrees warmer. Heat makes people pour another drink and chatter. At 6:52 p.m., a cork popped. At 7:03, music bled. Tinny jazz. Paige thinks sounds expensive. At 7:58, I left the closet for the service elevator, shook out my hands, rolled my shoulders like I was stepping to a counter. The hairpin sat light as a promise. 8:03. I stood outside my door. Keys. Brass. Familiar cut. When a lock you pinned yourself turns under your fingers, the cylinder sounds like your name. I put the key in. I turned. I stepped through. Part 3. The door swings and the tape rolls. The latch seated. The cylinder clicked. I crossed my own threshold like I was punching a time card. Paige froze mid-toast, flute aloft. Curtis set a folder on my coffee table and reached for the door behind me. I shut it with my heel and said like I was asking for change, "Evening." Scoot the caviar, my coaster. Silence held 2 beats. Then Curtis performed a smile. "Mrs. Reynolds, this is incredible." "Not incredible," I said. "Inconvenient." He angled toward the hall. I tapped the deadbolt. "Sticks unless you lift." "Housework." He lifted. It didn't move, because I'd flipped the security chain. Paige tried the soft shock script. "Mom, you're confused. You wandered..." I pointed to the folder. "Papers in that stack say I'm incompetent, right? Let's read them out loud so I can hear my own condition." A recorder lived under the lamp. Another in my pocket hummed. I gave them open prompts, not accusations. "Who drew those up?" "Standard forms," Curtis said, palm brushing the folder's edge. "Signed per your directive." "Per my directive," I repeated, as if I were balancing a receipt. "Which you typed? When?" Paige recovered enough swagger to show off. "Last week. I printed the doctor's letter here. You were asleep." "Spell his name," I said. "Tavares," she said. "Wrong." "No, Tavares," she corrected. "Right on the second try. Good for a transcript." I set my keys on the glass, metal ringing. "And the insurance?" Curtis couldn't resist. "Deposited this morning. We'll liquidate the condo after the certificate records." "We," I said. "We," he said again. Tidy and present tense. Paige finally clocked the rhythm. Her eyes flicked to the lamp base, then to the dining chair. She sniffed the bait bug and smiled like a cat. "Really, Mom? Microphones?" She plucked the decoy off the chair rail and held it up, triumphant. "Cute," I said, and poured myself water. "Now say the part about the box." Curtis blinked. Paige's mouth tightened. I left them the narrowest bridge. The lumber in the trunk, the hole in the scrub lot, the dose you called horse-ready. "You two like tidy stories? Tell one." Paige's voice thinned. "You're being dramatic." Am I? I slid a nail across the table, the same 4-inch I'd used as a lever. Let it tick once on the glass. Name the ranch road. She stared at the nail, not the door. You can't prove. A soft knock folded into the jazz. 3 beats, pause, 2 beats, Rios's pattern. I didn't move. I kept my eyes on Curtis. While you're here, remind me, what's the buyer wiring for the view? $850, he said automatically, then saw my face and swallowed the rest. I called toward the door, like to a neighbor. Come on in. It's unlocked if you lift. The chain slid free. The door opened on a pizza box and 2 men in polos. Delivery logos, camera bags, bland smiles. Rios was behind them with a clipboard and a warrant packet tucked inside a phone bill. She swept the room without drama. Ma'am, to me, then to them, steady. Mr. Hale, Ms. Reynolds, keep your hands on the table. Curtis tried reason. Detective, you can't be in here without... She held the warrant like a church program. We can. Keep your voice up. This table is mic'd. One polo set the pizza on the counter. The other peeled a tiny camera off his hat brim and nested it on my bookshelf. The lens looked at Paige like a curious bird. Rios nodded once to me. My cue was simple. Make them repeat. I pointed to the folder again. Read me the title pages. Curtis, annoyed despite himself, flipped. Durable power of attorney. Medical authorization. Sale authorization. Certification of incapacity. And the date on the medical certification? 2 weeks after your disappearance. Signed by Dr. Tavares. Spell it, Rios said. Pen ready. He spelled it. Slow. Good, I said. Now say what hits the account today. The insurance, Paige blurted, heat getting to her. $500,000. Then we close on the condo. He handles the escrow. Rios wrote, escrow. Big enough for me to read upside down. Then she gave me a small tilt of the head. One more prompt. I slid the nail again. A metronome. And the box? Paige blew. Oh, for God's sake. The box was your fault. You never drink tea, then suddenly you do, and, Curtis hissed, Paige. But she was already across the line. Finish your sentence, Rios said, gentler than you'd think. Paige gripped the flute stem until it squeaked. She wasn't supposed to wake up. Rios nodded to the polos. Their hands drifted to cuffs they weren't wearing. Not yet. She stayed with the words. Where is the box now? Paige laughed, high and wrong. You'll never find it. That's fine, Rios said. We'll start with the trunk liner, then your shoe treads, then the digital map history you never cleared. Curtis sagged, calculating the cost of lawyering a hole in the desert. He tried one more door. Detective, this is a family dispute. Rios's pen didn't stop. It's racketeering when you repeat it. Glendale, Peoria, Tucson. Same adjuster, same petitions, same counsel. She turned the clipboard to him. Your bar number, please. On the bookshelf, the bird lens blinked. On the table, my keys lay steady. I kept asking questions the way I'd taught apprentices to cut a master. Shallow to deep, no chatter. Who paid the investigator to close the file early? I asked. Gas money, Curtis muttered. Rios lifted an eyebrow. Say the amount. 1,000, he said. Cash. And you call that? Expediting, he said. And there it was. Plain, ugly, perfect. The polos stepped in. Rios read counts like a grocery list. Attempted murder, conspiracy, forgery, insurance fraud, elder abuse. She didn't raise her voice. The cuffs clicked without spectacle. Curtis stared at his wrists like the metal offended him. Paige looked through me to a place beyond the wall. As they turned, Paige found one last scrap of theater. "You think this is over?" "No," I said. "I think this is logged." They went past the pizza like ordinary people leaving an ordinary party. The hallway swallowed them. Rios stayed. The bird lens kept blinking. She set the clipboard down, put both palms on my table, and spoke like a foreman signing a delivery. "You executed clean, Ms. Reynolds. We'll need sworn statements and your original audio in chain of custody bags. You have backups?" "2 more," I said. "1 off-site." "Good. Pack tonight. Press will be at the stoop by morning." Part 4. Paperwork, fallout, and the next sting. By dawn, the corridor smelled like coffee and camera crews. I didn't wave. I packed. First, chain of custody. I laid every SD card and the prepaid phone on butcher paper, labeled with Sharpie, date, time, location, then sealed them in AG evidence bags. Tyler knocked the service door twice. I slid him a banker's box and a list. He took them straight to Rios's case clerk. No scenic route. Second, the condo. I photographed each room, opened a spreadsheet, logged, item, provenance, disposition. Anything Paige had tagged sell got a red dot. Heirloom pieces got green. I rekeyed the knobs, deadbolts, storage cages, Schlage, 6-pin, new cores. By noon I had a carrier tub labeled to move and another labeled to court. Rios rang at 1:17. Hale folded on the investigator. "Dr. Tavares never examined you. Signature's a stamp. Media's loud. Sit tight." "Sitting isn't my craft," I said. "Then channel it," she answered. "We've got a Glendale family who thinks their granddad wandered. Same adjuster, same template." "Send me the template," I said. "I'll mark the seams." Afternoon. Sworn statement under oath at the AG office. No adjectives, just sequence. I signed, dated, thumbprinted, and watched my pages drop into a file drawer like they were bricks. On the way home, I stopped at the storage unit I'd rented the week after Paige arrived. Forethought I was glad I'd had. Moved the green dot boxes out. I left the red dot pile for the court-appointed liquidator and taped a note to the stack. Itemized below. Proceeds to restitution fund. Night. I drove to a walk-up 3 miles east. Key from a landlord who still knew how to shake a hand. 1 bedroom, balcony, morning sun, no ghosts. I set a folding table, plugged in a lamp, and wrote a title on a fresh binder. Counterline. Opes. Day 2 was all clean cuts. Bank accounts. I added 2 co-signer requirements and dual alerts. Insurance. I changed beneficiaries to a trust with a narrow valve and 2 trustees. Me and a CPA who doesn't play golf with anyone. Medical. New primary. New specialist. Both chosen by a nurse friend who hates fancy pens. I left copies at 3 places and stuck a label on each. No signatures outside fluorescent lights. On day 3, Rios looped me in on Glendale. "Family's scared. Adjuster's slick. We need him sloppy on tape." "Then make him greedy," I said. "He'll show you his soft underbelly when he thinks the meat's his." We built the bait like a jig. I coached the granddaughter on phone phrasing. No accusations, only open questions. Tyler and I printed a trust packet that looked legit, but hid trace powder inside the clip. Rios wired the dining room. We set a decoy, attorney consult calendar invite from a burner, so the adjuster would feel like he had competition. He arrived wearing too much cologne and a watch that was trying too hard. I played the grieving cousin, cardigan, quiet voice. A simple ledger open to savings, policy, deed. He launched into his pitch. Presumed death is just paperwork. I can expedite. The mic under the runner cloth pulsed a green dot I could almost hear. Expedite how? I asked him, pencil still. Relationships, he said. Petitions. Greased. He slid 2 forms across the table. The same fonts, the same margins, the same bogus capacity stamp I'd found in my place. I nudged him. And if someone asks questions? He smiled. By the time they ask, everything's sold. Rios texted, "Got it," from the van. We let him finish his monologue, let the trace powder ride his fingertips to the forms. When he reached for his folder, Rios walked in like she was refilling lemonade. "Hi, Neil," she said to the adjuster by his first name. "Hands in the air. Let's see the fingerprints." He tried to eat the forms. Grown man, white collar, mouthful of notary paper. The team laughed later. I did not. They bagged the sheets. The powder lit up his prints like Christmas. Another knot cut. Back home, the Page Curtis case marched. Discovery produced the box order text chain. SKU numbers for pine, a thermos emoji, 1 map pin. CSI dug the scrub lot and found exactly what they needed. Screws that didn't match the hammer, Curtis's tells. Defense counsel called my daughter misled. The jury called her guilty. I went back to work. We launched Counterline with folding chairs and bad coffee at St. Paul's Hall. I wrote the curriculum like a service manual. Step 1. Inventory the house. Keep a list in a bright folder. Photograph it. Email it to 2 people you trust. Step 2. Control the phone. 1 handset that never leaves your pocket. Step 3. Visitors. If they brought paper, it waits until morning. If they insist, they leave. We stamped every attendee's documents. Read in my email and slime copied in big red letters. Folks love the drama. I love the discipline. We also trained supers. I gave them my vent map and camera blind spots. Turned every building into less of a playground for predators. You're the first lock on every door, I told them. Know the hinges. The call started. My nephew wants me to sign a quick claim at Sunday dinner. Answer. Tuesday, 10 a.m. at the bank, with copies. Home aide says I need a new medication no doctor mentioned. Answer. Capsules in a baggie to the pharmacist for verification. We printed wallet cards with 4 lines. If I didn't request it, it waits. No kitchen signatures. Copies before pens. Call. Counterline. The number sticks. Rios fed us quiet referrals. We fed her clean packages. Dates, voices, money lines. Cases moved. The same adjuster's name popped in 3 more files. He sang to save years. The investigator, who took Curtis's cash, flipped for 5. The stamped doctor lost his license and discovered that a physician without paper is a man with plenty of time to think. Media wanted the soft focus angle. I declined couches and lights. Teach process. I told the one reporter who would listen. She did. Her piece wasn't about tears. It was screenshots, checklists, sample forms, bold arrows pointing to the lines where the cons hide. That aired on a Tuesday. Attendance tripled by Thursday. I cleaned my old place one last morning before the liquidator arrived, wiped the counters, pulled the tape from the bug wires, patted the wall where Walter and I once leaned doing nothing at all. Sentiments fine in crumbs, not meals. I locked the door, handed the escrow agent the keys, and watched my name land on the wire receipt like a nail seating. Tyler swung by the new apartment with a stack of plastic bins and his bulldog, Jojo, who snored like a man who'd earned it. We mounted a fresh fire safe in the hall closet, bolted to studs, 3 copies of everything, 1 flash drive in a coffee can on the balcony. I taped a strip inside the safe door. Who owns what? Updated first of each month. That night, with the desert cooling, I set my hairpin on the new counter beside the stamp and the ledger. 3 tools, 3 uses. Open, mark, record. You want romance? I give you this instead. A method that denies wolves their supper. Next morning, Mrs. Benavides brought a shoebox to clinic. Photos, bonds, the deed her son wanted simplified. I showed her the fluorescent lights, the signatures line, the difference between joint tenancy and a trust with a kill switch. She nodded like a foreman. I can do this, she said. You just did, I told her, and stamped her folder. Read. The door kept swinging, the tape kept rolling, the bad ideas kept meeting daylight. We didn't stop every scheme, but we made them work for their supper. Predators hate labor. By month's end, Rios texted a single line. Glendale closed. Widow safe. I texted back. Stamped. Then I set my binder, sharpened my pencil, and drew a fresh page labeled Next Job. Because you don't retire from knowing how machines fail. You show up with a key ring and a checklist, and you make the hinges earn their keep. Part 5. Cross-county sweep and the notary ring. Counterline wasn't a club anymore. It was a switchboard. Calls stacked. Patterns repeated. We stopped talking about cases and started calling them jobs, because jobs have tools, timelines, deliverables. First job of the week, a Sunday table deed grab in South Tucson. Nephew, fresh haircut, shows up with a mobile notary and a quitclaim. Grandma's stove still warm. Classic kitchen ambush. We built a wedge. I walked in as the neighbor who bakes. Cardigan, tin of pecan bars, clipboard under foil. The notary's stamp wrote a cheap self-inking housing, the kind that smears on glossy paper. I laid out plates like I owned the table, set down a bright placemat, and said, let's get better light. Fluorescence on. Chairs squared. Nephew pitched urgency. Tax lien. Must sign today. I asked for the notary's commission number. For my church log. He slid the stamp like a magician. Fast hands, eyes elsewhere. I capped the pen, held the deed with a paper towel, no prints, and said, cheerful, acetone test. Excuse me? He blinked. Counterfeit seal ink reactivates under solvent. Real embossers don't smear. I dabbed the lower corner. Ghosting halos blossomed around the seal. Rios stepped out of the hallway with 2 badges and a small black light. The notary tried to stand. The nephew tried to bluster. We ran the UV. Microfibers lit up where they'd sanded a prior date. Illegal alteration, forged seal, attempted theft from a vulnerable adult. Handcuffs clacked. Grandma signed nothing. She took a pecan bar. Job closed in 40 minutes. Chain of custody airtight. Second job, a lost bond shuffle in an East Side tower. 2 aides swapping residence mail, cashing matured paper with photocopied IDs. We didn't argue. We timed carts. Tyler mapped the night route. I set motion dots on the chute door and a pin camera in the mail alcove disguised as a tenant survey box. Rios placed a dummy envelope, Series EE bond, printed name Eulalia M. Carr, just like the aide had bragged about at lunch. At 2:17 a.m., the camera caught a gloved hand in the swipe pattern. We let it happen, then watched the pair hit the all-night check-cashing window. Rios's team met them at the counter, hands already powdered. Fingerprint match. both folded, both named the floor manager who looked the other way for cash. 3 arrests, 9 residents made whole through the restitution pot we'd forced into Page's sentencing. Paperwork again, doing what shouting can't. Third job, the auction rig. County courthouse, Tuesday. Elder's estate, without heirs, scheduled for quick sale. But the heir existed, in Nogales, just not stylish or loud enough for the clerk to notice. Curtis's old buddies loved these. We needed to jam their gears without spooking the whole room. I wore my janitor's jacket from my store days, pushed a mop, and listened. 2 flippers chatted about a holdback. They'd keep bids low, then sprinkle cash to competitors out back. Illegal bid suppression. Rios wired a bench 2 rows behind them. I scratched a note on the clipboard for her eyes only. Green jacket, silver hair, boots, lead talker. We let the sale open. When Lot 7 came up, the elder's cottage, Green Jacket did his loud yawn and fake stretch. Nobody moved. I raised my paddle and announced, "Bid on behalf of the named heir under affidavit." Gasps. Clerk paused. Rios stood, badge visible, and read a short paragraph about the penalties for collusion. The room straightened its spine. Real bidders surfaced. Cottage sold for fair value to the actual heir, who FaceTimed in from Nogales, crying not because TV loves tears, but because the gavel finally hit an honest number. We filed a memo with the AG to audit the last 12 sales. 2 weeks later, the clerk's oversight quit. Between jobs, I tightened our system. We standardized the go bag, stamp, acetone pen, UV keychain, chain of custody forms, prepaid phone, envelope seals, blank index cards, hairpin. I wrote a 2-page kitchen table protocol. 1. Fluorescence on. 2. Photo IDs copied to your folder first. 3. Stamp tested on scrap, never on the document. 4. No one sits with their back to the exit. 5. If they say, "Sign now," you say, "Bank tomorrow." We printed 500, handed them out like church bulletins. Page flickered back into my week via certified mail. Prison letterhead. She didn't apologize. She asked for books, hinted at appeals, named a podmate who knows a guy. I logged the envelope, scanned it into the case file, and dropped it at Rios's desk. Not because it would sway a judge, because predators test fences. You keep the fence hot. A call came from Yuma, a man with a voice like gravel. "My sister's caregiver wants emergency access to her account." We did a porch consult. I had him bring the checkbook and a stack of receipts. The caregiver's advances were neat. $74.99, $49.99, numbers calibrated to slip under radar. I drew a column. Date, payee, memo, round. The pattern popped. Human hands love 99 when they're inventing. We called the bank's fraud lead, a woman who didn't waste syllables. She froze the card, flagged the account for in-person withdrawals only, and thanked us with a single nod over the phone. Simple interventions keep roofs over heads. One misstep, because those teach faster than winds. We walked into a trailer park with borrowed authority, pastor's introduction, not enough prep. The son slammed the door, shouted about outsiders, and we'd set him off by crowding his porch. I logged it under humility and wrote a new line for the manual. Ask from the sidewalk, never enter uninvited. Next day, the same pastor called back. Son's aunt wanted help. She'd seen our 1 page and liked the arrows. We course-corrected. We will again. Rios pulled me into an office on Thursday and pointed at a board full of string. Adjuster rings bigger. They're sharing templates. Same margins, same fake physician stamp. "Margins?" I asked. She grinned. "You hear the music, too." I ran my ruler across 4 scans. The left margin sat at zero point 0.9 inches every time. County forms default to 1.0. That tenth of an inch is where laziness lives. We pushed that tell to banks and clerks. Rejections spiked. Counterfeits die at light speed when you teach a pattern to a clerk with a pen. Friday, we tested a hospital gambit. A man with a clipboard tried to slide optional arbitration into a stack for an 82-year-old in pre-op. Arbitration shaves recourse. We posted volunteers in waiting rooms with 2 phrases on a card. Which page lets us say no? And she will sign after lunch. Strange how fast required turns optional when someone reads the room aloud. Saturday morning clinic was standing room only. I worked station 3, the stamp table. Mrs. Green brought an envelope marked trust. Inside, a living trust entirely typed in Palatino, but with 1 page in Times New Roman, the page that moved her house to a successor trustee named Blake. I circled the font shift and wrote, "Cut and paste tell." She exhaled like a tire losing pressure and said, "Then no." We made copies, called her real attorney, the one she hired, and drank church coffee that tasted like rubber hose in progress. By afternoon, my binder had sprouted tabs. Notary, mail, auction, hospital, bank, fonts. Tyler started a spreadsheet of recurring names, adjusters, notaries, care consultants, with a column for tell and another for countermeasure. It read like a field guide: self-inking stamp plus glossy smear, acetone test plus UV, fake MD, license lookup, plus call the office line on the wall, not the card, probate fast track, alternate venue, plus affidavit air present on Zoom. At sunset, I sat on my balcony, hairpin on the table next to the stamp and the ledger. The same 3 tools, new uses each week. A siren flared 3 blocks over and faded. Jojo thumped his head against my shoe. I penciled the next agenda. Teach supers to spot mailbox shims. Write, who to call at 2 a.m. List for every tenant council. Draft a 1-page for bank tellers. Red flags in 5 seconds. The phone buzzed. Rios. Pima County wants your protocol. Monday? I texted back. Bring fluorescent lights. Because that's the point. Not the speeches, not the soft focus segments. Light, counters, copies, and a crew that walks in at the right minute, with the right line, and makes fraudsters earn every inch they don't get. She slid a card across the glass. AG, Elder Justice. Stay with a friend, or don't sleep near windows, she said. The ripples will splash for a bit. I'm not made of sugar, I said. Neither is concrete, she answered, dry. Still cracks if you pour it too fast. She left me with the hum of the fridge and the fizz of an open bottle going flat. I stood in my kitchen, in my house, in my name. I turned off the jazz. I opened the window and let the Tucson night roll through. Downstairs, Tyler texted a single word. Clean? I answered. Stamped. Then I did what I've always done when a job closes. I wiped the counter, put the tools where they belong, and wrote the day's work in a ledger. Time, names, proof, next step. Next step wasn't victory laps. It was subpoenas, inventories, locks rekeyed, and a move date penciled in the corner. A job isn't done when the door shuts. It's done when the paperwork matches the truth. Part 6. Guardians, Ghost Policies, and the Storage Locker Ledger. Monday started in probate court. A professional guardian had filed an emergency petition to take over Mr. Ortega. Alive, lucid, just slow with English. Emergency means no notice, no lawyer, no family. We arrived with a counter wedge, Tyler's translator app, a notarized letter from Ortega's pastor, and our café no baixo. Kitchen table protocol. Blown up to poster size. Guardian's attorney led with imminent risk. I asked the judge, "Risk of what, Your Honor? Poverty or paperwork?" Then I slid a flash drive to the clerk. A timeline showing the Guardian's last 5 emergencies, each followed by asset sales inside 10 days. The tell? Every inventory typed in the same template with that wrong 0.9-inch margin. The judge called a recess, appointed counsel for Ortega, and demanded a capacity evaluation by a neutral doc. Petition denied. Guardian scowled. I logged the name to our repeat handsy sheet. Next stop, a hospice do not resuscitate trick. Daughter-in-law pushed a pre-signed DNR on a 90-year-old who still walked her hall. The form's physician line read, Dr. F. Kolb. I dialed the number on the wall, not the business card. Office manager said, Dr. Kolb retired in 2019. We took a photo of the curl in the wet ink signature, and the misaligned date block tells of a desktop job. Rios seized the file. Hospice compliance arrived before lunch. DNR shredded. Patient kept her status by her own words, not someone else's hurry. Afternoon, storage park on Valencia. Rumor said a ring kept clean kits, blank powers of attorney, doctored letterhead, fake notary stamps, in a 10x10 locker. We rented the unit next door and listened through the corrugation using a piezo disc mic taped to a broom handle. Ugly. Effective. Tuesday, 8:22 p.m. Pickup backed in. 2 men, 1 woman, opened unit D14. I heard the slap of rubber stamps, the squeak of a folding table, a printer wake-up chirp. I texted Rios. Showtime. Her team rolled in under the pretext of a gas leak. When the roll-up door rattled, they tried to flush a thumb drive down a Coleman cooler. We had the drain capped. Inside the cooler, vacuum-sealed kits, fake physician stamps, 2 mobile notary seals, a binder labeled Guardians, Emergency. With pre-filled petitions missing only names, evidence bagged. Operator 1 sang by sunrise. Midweek, we hit the banks. I trained tellers in 5 minutes at a branch huddle. 3-second look. Does the doctor letter have the practice's main number or a cell? Call the wall, not the card. Edges. Are the perforations too clean on a matured bond? Bonds tear ragged, copies don't. Math. Caretaker reimbursements. Love 99 endings. Ask for original receipts. No photo stacks. Pace. Any signer pushing today gets tomorrow by policy. We left them laminated. Red flags same cards. Calls from that branch doubled for a week. False starts, yes, but they caught 2 forged checks and a cash-out POA signed in gel pen. Thursday night ran hot. A voice clone scammer phoned Mrs. Green using her grandson's voice, asking for bail. She stalled and texted our hotline. We set a trap. A decoy envelope with GPS tag and fluorescent powder under the flap. The courier arrived. A man in a neon vest with a cheap badge. I opened the door as a forgetful grandmother, fumbled, and let him touch the flap. UV lit him up blue the moment he reached his car. He tried to lick it off. Rookie move. Rios cuffed him, and his phone gave us 2 upstream numbers. The call center sat in a strip mall across town, not overseas. 4 desks, a microwave, a whiteboard labeled Grannies, yes, men, no. We bagged scripts, lists, a bounty chart. Powder still on his chin in the booking photo. Evidence with a sense of humor. Friday, we walked a mobile home park title flip. Friendly investor had helped 3 elders refinance by swapping title VIN plates. Plates had fresh rivets. Old adhesive ghosts outlined the originals underneath. A tell you can't sand away. We brought a battery drill, removed the new plate, photographed the residue, and matched numbers against the state VIN database. 3 fraudulent transfers reversed on the spot. Investors' pushback died when the park manager produced our one-page "Do not sign in doorways" flyer with his signature, under, "I understand." Saturday was clinic day. Station 2, a man laid down an annuity upgrade pitch. High commissions, long surrender period, bonus credit. I flipped to the back page, arbitration clause and a 12-year lock. I wrote in red, "Can't touch money till 2036, and slid it back. He blinked like a deer and said, "Well, maybe it isn't suitable." We added, "Annuity suitability." To the wall chart. Age, liquidity needs, surrender term. You don't need law school. You need columns. Between runs, Tyler built the ledger. Our cross-case database. Columns. Name, role, tell, tool, outcome, referrals. Example, Margot L., Guardian, 0.9 margin, identical inventory template, margin check plus prior case map, petition denied, AG referral, 3 attorneys. Dr. F. Kolb. Ghost stamp, retired 2019, license lookup plus office call, DNR voided, hospice compliance. The ledger let us move faster than their scripts. Patterns at scale turn into warrants. Late Sunday, a letter from Paige. Not apology, leverage. She wrote that a friend inside had names, wanted considerations, if I would help. I scanned, logged, delivered to Rios. Fence, hot. Then I put on my shoes. Night run, hospital again. A volunteer wheeled a clipboard to a woman waiting on scans. Sign here to streamline billing. I read the fine print, pre-authorization to harvest medical records for third-party review partners. I said, "We'll sign after lunch," and handed the woman our card. Volunteer blinked, looked down, and noticed his badge said, "Vendormed," not the hospital. He left fast. Lobby staff gathered. I added, "Lobby vendors," to the training deck. Monday dawned with a storage lot search warrant in my left pocket and a fresh go bag in my right. We opened locker D14 completely. Back wall, behind a taped moving blanket, sat the thing that breaks cases. The handwritten notebook. Names, dates, dollar splits, and a column titled, "How with One-Word Methods." DNR, guard, kitchen, mail, auction, voice. A ledger of harm in pen. I don't do speeches. We photocopied every page, bagged the original, and pushed the copies to 3 agencies at once so nobody could bury it. By afternoon, warrants stacked like pancakes. Phones, bank accounts, apartments, P.O. boxes. Night crews moved. We didn't post victory pictures. We stapled receipts. At home, I slid the hairpin from my wallet and laid it next to the ledger printout. Same 2 rules as always. Gather facts in daylight. Make them talk when the money moves. Next up on the board, guardianship reform hearing. Bring margin prints, 3 elders to testify, and the cooler with the stamps. Fluorescents are packed. We'll plug them in ourselves. Part 7. The hearing, the hub, and the long key. The legislative hearing ran under bad coffee and bright fluorescents. My kind of room. We hauled in our cooler of seized stamps, the storage locker ledger in plastic, and 3 folding shop lights. Tyler wheeled in a rolling cart with a printer, a laminator, and a thrift store microwave missing its turntable. Rios parked in the back row with 2 boxes of warrants like a thunderhead holding. First witness, an investor in a navy blazer, tried to sell streamlined guardianship pathways. I asked the clerk for the margin test. She printed his last 5 inventories and laid them edge to edge. Identical 0.9-inch left margin, same line wrap, same typo on miscellaneous. I held up the cooler. These were in locker D14 next to a folding table and self-inking stamps, I said. You call it efficiency. We call it a kit. Next, a hospice executive swore their forms were airtight. Tyler plugged in the shop lights and rolled our microwave forward. Watch the stamp, he said, pressing a capture sheet down over the Dr. F. Kolb seal. Gentle heat from the open microwave cavity lifted the toner curl on the counterfeit, like a cheap tattoo. Audible gasp from the back row. No sermon. Demonstration beats outrage every day. Committee counsel asked for fixes. We handed over a 1-page bill we'd drafted on the church copier. Cooling off rule, counter rule, callback rule. 72-hour cooling off on any elder asset transfer over $10,000 unless a judge signs it in person. All signatures under hospital lights or bank fluorescents, no kitchens, no doorways, no parking lots. Mandatory callback to the practice main line for any medical order. Cell numbers don't count. They took the draft like a gift. That afternoon, the AG stapled our storage ledger pages to a racketeering complaint. Names marched down the column titled, Hound DNR, Guard, Kitchen, Mail, Auction, Voice. The court stamped the order. Servers went out before supper. We turned the storage lot into a map. D14 gave us PO. Boxes. The boxes led to mail drop storefronts. The storefronts led to a mobile notary van with a glove box full of unnumbered seals. We didn't chase by foot. We moved by ledger. By Thursday, 9 arrests, 19 accounts frozen, 2 professional guardians barred pending hearing. Nobody cheered. We printed receipts and kept walking. I still had Paige to swat down for good. She'd mailed a second letter from prison. No apology, just bait. A list of friends who wanted favors. I logged it, scanned it, passed it to Rios. Then I took a different kind of meeting. We'd learned they're upstream, a gray-haired broker with perfect teeth who whispered in civic clubs about legacy transitions. Name? Nolan Carver. He kept his hands clean and his references shiny. Carver scheduled a town hall pitch at a senior center off Speedway. We took the front row. He opened with photos of sailboats and a pie chart that did a lot of lying. I raised my hand. Mr. Carver, could you outline your surrender periods and arbitration venue? He smiled wide. 12 years, binding in Delaware, but I clicked my pen. 2 volunteers in the rear hit the light switches. Our projector splashed his own contract on the wall, red circles around the lockup and the venue. Tyler's audio clip rolled next. Carver on a recorded call, schnoring over expedited incapacity letters. He fumbled his mic. I walked him to the counter under those true buzzing lights. Initial next to the word non-cancelable. Please, I said. He refused. The room saw it. That was the point. Rios served his subpoena in the parking lot, while Carver practiced indignation for a camera that never came. He folded in 3 days, trading emails for leniency. One chain reached into a judge's clerk, who'd sped emergency petitions for gift cards and ball game tickets. We didn't curse. We highlighted dates. Meanwhile, the bill moved faster than gossip. The committee amended, floor voted, governor signed. Elder Transactions Integrity Act. Not my title, but I can live with it. It baked our 3 rules into state code and gave tellers and nurses a place to point when a bully said, "Today." We sent laminated pocket cards to every bank branch we could find. Law says slow down. You could hear 1,000 shoulders drop. We built the hub on folding tables in a donated warehouse. Phones, scanners, 10 cheap laptops, a whiteboard with 4 columns. Signal, source, tool, handoff. Tyler wrote the software glue so when a hotline call mentioned a doctor name, the system checked license status. When a notary popped up, it pulled a seal number history. When a guardian filed, it diffed margins and headers against known templates. We called it Counterline Live. It wasn't pretty. It was quick. First week online, the hub caught a fresh kitchen signing 2 counties over. We patched a librarian through FaceTime to stand in as a witness and read the fine print while a niece tried to shove a pen at her uncle. "Ma'am," the librarian said, sweet as pie, "state code requires institutional lighting and a 72-hour cool-off." The niece left with a slammed door and a look that would curdle milk. Uncle kept his house. Second week, an out-of-state adjuster tried to bully a widow into a fast claim assignment with a 25% cut. Our hub faxed the AG letterhead over in under a minute. Hold, preserve, do not disperse. The adjuster decided to love policy after all. You want the last turn of the wrench? Here it is. We went back to the storage park with a second warrant. The blank unit opposite D14 had a false back. Behind it, a banker's box of originals. Wet ink powers of attorney. Real signatures. They'd been collecting like trophies and switching in copies, keeping the hard stuff in case they needed leverage later. On top sat the master list, 12 pages long. Half the people on it were already presumed. The other half still answered their doors. We split into 3 crews, Rios with badges, church folks with casseroles, us with clipboards, and worked the list like a hurricane check. We knocked, we checked deeds, we reversed switches. At one trailer, a man had 2 weeks of food and a signature he didn't remember. We voided it, set the cooling off clock, called his daughter, his actual one, not the kind who arrives with a briefcase, and left with his water running again. The paper called us vigilantes. We mailed them our SOP and invited them to clinic. They came, watched us mark up contracts and dial main lines, and printed a nicer headline next time. Counterline turns fraud. Playbook on its head. Pretty words don't stop thieves, but they bring more neighbors to the table. That helps. Paige filed an appeal. She attached a typed reflection about hardship and growth and mutual healing. I read it once, under the same fluorescence I use for everything that matters. Then I stapled it to the chain of emails where she priced my furniture and scheduled my after. I wrote in the margin, Exhibit A, the plan. The appellate court did not find healing in the record. What sticks isn't the drama. It's the habits we left behind. Banks now keep a counter journal. Who brought what? Who called the wall number? Whether fluorescents were on. Hospitals badge lobby vendors and ban clipboards without the hospital logo. Storage parks require real ID to rent a unit with a printer. Notary seals get logged by serial, and gel pens are a standing joke. Families keep daylight folders on the fridge, deed copies, policy numbers, who to call, who not to let in. On my kitchen wall, new apartment, new locks, hangs a pegboard with 3 hooks. Hairpin, ledger, flashlight. The hairpin rides in my wallet because a small tool wins big fights. The ledger reminds me patterns beat stories. The flashlight? Well, you already know about lights. If you're expecting a grand goodbye, you don't know shop folks. We close the till, we count, we sweep, we lock up. Workday ends. Work goes on. Tyler's building a version of the hub other towns can run without us. Rio says more states are sniffing around our bill. The church ladies edited our flyers so they fit on half sheets with big type. That's what victory looks like. Simple, repeatable, taped to a fridge. You want a last checklist to stick on your door? Here. 1. Ask for the lights. No signatures in doorways. 2. Call the wall. Never the card. 3. Photograph the page. Corners, dates, letterhead, typos. 4. Wait 72. Real deals, wait. Bad ones can't. 5. Loop an outsider. Different county, different bank, different doctor. 6. Make them talk at the money. Timing is truth. 7. Write names right. Spelling wins cases. My name is Martha Jo Reynolds. Miss MJ when there's a busted latch and not enough daylight. I'm 76. I keep a keyring heavy, a ledger current, and a hairpin handy. If they come to your door with a pen in a hurry, point to your ceiling and ask, "Where are the fluorescents?" If they can't answer, close the door. If they push, call me. I have a long key and good timing. That's enough.